Hello Team Zug, and today we're back with another narrow gauge video. Ooh! It's been a while since I made a video on my take along slash take and play narrow gauge engines. Sorry about that guys. Anyways, we're back with another custom showcase on the narrow gauge engines. And this time I got SQC. I forgot about him when I made a video about these guys last time, so here he is. I want to make a Halloween special about this guy. But anyways, let's talk about today's customs. So, here are my customs of Gerry, Atlas, Tim, and Jim. Now, you probably know who these guys are. They're the mid-solar engines. Well, technically, Atlas is meant to be like an American engine, but before that, people imagined him as the mine engine, and that's the best version of Atlas. So, yeah, here Jim, Tim, Atlas, and Gerry. Now these guys are specifically the versions of the Smudger movie, which is my favorite fan-made Thomas movie. So yeah, I'm a huge fan of the Smudger movie, and I really like the take on the other mid-solar engines. In fact, in my opinion, the Smudger movie versions of the mid-solar engines are the kind of like the definitive versions for me. Although also Rexel Jet's take on the mid-solar engines is a close second for me. In fact, Duchess is actually one of my favorite newer fan-made OCs, which I might make a custom of her really soon. So stay tuned for that. But anyways, let's talk about Gerry, Atlas, Tim, and Jim, the one you've all came to see. Let's start with Gerry. Now, Gerry was made out of a Duncan, which I won for eBay for a really cheap price. He was really badly beat up. Now, the first thing I did, I used air drying clay for the tanks, the back, the firebox, as well as the Gerry's cow catchers and side plates, because in my head canon, Gerry's kind of like a tram engine. Not tram engine like Tim, but still a tram engine, kinda. He was built by Kerr Stewart, but he wasn't built by the same person who designs Peter Sam. He was built by someone else who worked with Kerr Stewart, and he and one of the other engines were like the only engines that were built by the person. So yeah, Gerry's character, he's basically the Smudger movie version of him, except that Gerry is actually nicer to a Smudger, and they're both good friends. And yeah, and he's also like a really cool guy. I might do something with him and Duncan. Like, I like the idea they could have like a tiny rivalry, so that could be like a future story idea. Atlas. So Atlas's production was wild. Originally, so this is how I originally made him. He used, and he still has, basically I use a take and play Dust Percy for the chassis and originally for the smoke box, but I realized the position of the smoke box was too small and it was a bit higher up and I didn't like that. So instead I used the smoke box from a take and play bill, which I used the face for my Brio bill in Ben Customs, last year. Other than that, most of Atlas's body is made from air drying clay. Now in this Smudger movie, in one shot, Atlas has lightning on the side of him. That was due to when the scene where Smudger was a generator, Atlas rolls by pushing a truck and all that. But most shots in the Smudger movie, Atlas doesn't have any lining, so I kept that to be nice and simple. Oh yeah, I discovered that Atlas had a second dome, so I just had to add that. These versions of them are based on the Smudger movie, so this is why they're freelance designs mostly. Atlas, in my AU, he's built by the George Englands, so basically the same people who made Duke. He was the last locomotive built because he is based on, his design's meant to be like the UK version of the French locomotives that Audrey used for his mine engine models. And I really like those models. And I like the idea to make Atlas British. So, yeah, that's what I did. Really nice model of Atlas. Next up, we got Tim. Now, Tim is an interesting one because he's the only model that is not from the 2002 or 2009 take along or 2010 2013 take and play. He's actually a 2014 2017 take and play model because of the round magnets. I hate the round magnets just like everyone else. So, but I think, so what I use for Tim, I use a new take and play Duncan, which I'm actually a bit nostalgic towards that toy of Duncan. In fact, I have two of these, one of which I use for a custom of Darren, Duncan's dead brother, and that latter is which I used to make Tim. Now, I use air drying clay for the cab to make him taller. The dome was add air drying clay towards the dome. The same with that one, the firebox, the tank, even the cow side plates. If you're wondering, Tim does run, although this wheel right here has sadly been glued. Same thing goes with Atlas's front wheels here. Now, Tim, you can't really see Tim's face that well because I used the screenshot of the only good version of Tim's face, and it's sadly in is that scene in the quarry where all the engines were discussing what to do with Smudger. So yeah, and that was the only good shot of Tim's face I could use. I mean, to be fair, you can't really see Tim's mouth anyways in the Smudger movie because his big nose is blocking the way of his mouth. In my EU, Tim was built by Andrew Barclay, and he was one of the first narrow gauge engines they designed. So he's like the predecessor of Duncan, basically, because he's a bit similar, but not similar to Duncan. He's a bit similar. Maybe, imagine if, I don't know if Duncan's designer was around when they were making Tim. Like Tim and Atlas were from the late, around the late 18th, these two have been around since the late 19th century, while Gerry and Jim were from the 20th century. So, yeah, my AU, Tim, is like one of the older engines, and he's a bit jaded, a bit depressed, but he's a kind of hearted engine, and he gets along with Atlas really well. Alright, finally we've got Jim. Jim is my most ambitious custom of them all, and it's also one I had to sacrifice a lot. So Jim's chassis, he came from my take and play knockoff build that I got last year. Yeah, it was a really sad sacrifice. R.I.P. knockoff Bill. But to be fair, I wasn't really using him that much anymore. And the smoke box is from the take and play 2014 Charlie that I got from Joseph Ray Studios. I didn't really know what to do with it. It was missing the face, so I just pulled it out and used it for Jim. And it's a perfect fit because Jim has a big, wide face. One thing I did different for the Smudger movie is that I give all the engines nameplates. And I did just to make them more unique. I think they look pretty cool. In my AU, Jim was built by Kerr Stewart as well as Gerry. They were designed by the same person. So they're basically... So in my AU, Jim and Gerry, although not really the same class of engine, are classified as brothers like Scalo and Rhaenyra's. Gerry was built first in 1915 and Jim followed suit in 1920. These two have a brotherly bond, a bigger and little brother bond. And all four of these guys are really close friends with Duke, Sandal, aka Falcon, Peter Sam, aka Stewart, possibly Freddy, and especially of them all, Smudger, because in my EU, Smudger saved these guys from being scrapped in the smelters. If you want to know what I mean by that, just listen to my audio story, The Dark Tale of Burke and Hare, if you want to know. Well, it doesn't really show how Smudger saved them. It's a bit of a setup to understand what I'm talking about. So yeah, here are the Midsolar boys. I'm really happy that I finally made them. If, in my opinion, these are the best versions of these guys, although Rexel Jet's take on them is a close second for me. So yeah, I have other plans to make customs. I'm almost done making Adeline and Harris. I'm going to be making Duchess. I have plans to make Jennings and John. Although my version of Jennings and John are a bit similar to the Smudge movie, but they're a different class of engine. And I do want to redo my Bertram custom to make him better. I'm thinking I should make him either a large England or make him a new type of engine, like the Hunslet tender engines. I think I'll let you guys decide what I should do with Bertram. And I do want to make another Smudger to make him in his new shape. Will happen to him later down in Smudger's life. But anyways, that was my video. I hope you enjoy it. I sure have. If you like it, please subscribe, give me a thumbs up. I'll see you guys next time. Bye. Agreed with Jennings. Oi, Atlas. What do you think? Ooh, really nice. What about you, Tim? Don't care. What about you, Jim, my little bro? Can we just go back to the shed, Gerry? Okay, joke's over.